offer a harder version of it eventually. So.
Do you have any update on Stark Tech and like what it's going to be about?
So
It's no longer called Stark Tech.
well,
I just started.
yeah, I don't know if we had. Do we have? I don't think we have an official name for it yet.
We have a lot of tentative names, which
Yeah.
we're going to not say because they're probably going to change again.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel is very interactive with us on the game. And a lot of times we go back and forth with them about the naming of things based on the other things that are happening in their movies, that are happening in their comics. A lot of times we actually find out things about the movies before they've been released to the theaters. We've had to like be quiet. Yeah, exactly. It's really great, but sometimes it's hard to say, well, what's going to happen with something because there's still this communication that we go back and forth with Marvel on aspects of the game.
I think Doomsaw's current plan for Stark Tech, or whatever it ends up being called, has to do with taking your vanity pets and attaching abilities to them to sort of boost your character.
Two-part question. One would be, has Marvel restricted you guys to not being able to do anything, or is anything off limits?
No.
Another one would be, you guys ever plan on doing maybe like a vintage type raid or?
Marvel has feedback for
Yeah.
everything we do, and it's not that they're restrictive. It's just that they kind of want to push us in a direction, and you know, it's collaborative. So it's like a design. It's a designer and a programmer working together. You know, we have to work together to make what their vision is and what our vision is work together.
But do they say like, hey, we want you to focus more on the movies and not so much
No,
on comic books, or do
they
they
will
just say free reign?
So sometimes when we say, okay, we want to make X character, they will first of all send us a list of do's and don'ts for them. So there are some things that some characters have done in the comics that they're like, that's not canon, don't do that ever. You know, and then other times if there is we have several heroes that have different identities, like Hawkeye was Kate Bishop and it was Clint Barton, and so sometimes they will say, okay, well when you ship this character, the starting version of him needs to be this guy. So they'll say, okay, this guy, we're trying to push his popularity up, so we want to focus on this version of that hero. So they do have a lot of say in sort of which, and it's mostly cosmetic, right? Like it doesn't really affect how they play for them to say stuff like that.
And every once in a while we find out that they don't actually legally own some of the more obscure ones and whatnot. And that's beyond our control. Yeah.
So
We've been told we aren't allowed to talk about certain things we're not allowed to do.
right.
I mean, and sometimes it's just a wording thing. We'll be like, well, what if we call it this? And they're like, great, that's fine, we don't care. Oh, okay.
Your second question was older, like vintage comics, but in raids.
Well, like a vintage scenario.
Yeah.
Like an older scenario.
Something maybe like Secret Invasion or something.
Is it really considered vintage?
I mean, maybe.
Not vintage, but like older, you know, like 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
even 60s if you had.
We have a lot of plans for what the next raid will be, and you know, like you could do a Days of Future Past, but that could also be a one-shot. So there's so much content in the Marvel universe that there's no shortage of like ideas that we could work with, and like I said, of course, we have to pick which one to do first. But the vintage stuff.
Yeah, like some of the older storylines too, more than the newer movies. That's why I was wondering if we might see like, hey, you know, Secret Invasion, Days of Future Past, even just like an old school, like 60s run through the mansion, somebody attacking, you know?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I would really like to do that. Unfortunately, it's like we all have to agree on what to do next. And all
But it
that
could be a
good stuff.
possibility.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anything's possible.
Thanks.
Lots of questions. All right, we'll try to circle this back way here.
Are there any plans for a level 60 story mode? So, like, there's going to take you below your level?
So the same, if I understand your question, the same content of the story, but
All
instead of super heroic,
yeah,
just
all
have it be like cosmic.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. We should be able to do that, but we haven't. I don't think there's any plans in the pipe to do that, but we'll bring it up.
My question is kind of two-part.
think that, so the start tech is our first step into, it's not quite pet crafting, it's sort of augmenting pets, but it's not a very big step to go from that to, well, I can't say, you have pet tech. But it might not be a huge step to go from augmenting your pet to actually building a pet. So hopefully we can move in that direction.
The tokens themselves, or new content, like new cow level content. I would like to do a new cow level with whatever. So we have some new story content coming out this year, and it would be really cool to do a cow level based around that. I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm just gonna say I'd really like
Sure,
a new cow
Doomsaw
level.
hasn't already said it.
I don't know. I can't keep up with Doomsaw. He just says spoils things, and I can't keep up with his forum posts.
It's cows in space.
It's cow. It might be cows in space. You never know.
Squirrel cow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys afraid of overwhelming players on the team to add more characters? Or are you seeing that people are asking for more, like it's rapid?
I'll take it.
Okay.
I don't think we're too worried about overwhelming players exactly because there are so many characters that are out there and we haven't even touched like we're not going to ever, I don't think, cover everyone's favorite. Like there are some pretty obscure favorites out there that we might not get around to doing, and I know like one guy I talked to once, his favorite was chicken cow. Chicken cow?
Well, that's me.
It's not spelled the way you think, but he's half chicken, half cow. He really is. And so, like, you know, so we're not going to be able to build a full kit out of that, but we're hoping that we'll hit everyone's favorites at least with team-ups. So if there's a character that we're not going to be able to build a full kit for, otherwise they might play too much like someone else, like we'll make a team-up for them.
Dupe.
What is your favorite hero to play and why?
It's not Rocket Raccoon.
It's not.
It's not Rocket Raccoon.
He hasn't had
The
his
shirt is a
rework
lie.
yet. Maybe after his rework he'll be my favorite, but my favorite is actually Nightcrawler. I like teleporting everywhere. I'm squishy, so I like being able to just get out.
I've been playing my character changes like every couple months. So right now I just hit 60 with Wolverine, and he had his rework in May, and it's really good. He's really good. Just a lot of fun to play. Just a brawler.
You know Thor's crying.
I know, but don't worry, Thor will get
Crying
some
little
love soon.
storm lightning tears.
Nice.
Mine is also Nightcrawler. He's fun. I've played lots of the old school RPGs, and I always like the teleporting characters. So Deadpool and Nightcrawler are up there for me. Everybody in the office basically channels their inner gamer into one or two of the characters, and when we develop the characters, everybody that sends their feedback. So it's a pretty nice aspect of the development process for us.
Is there any chance of adding a collect all feature for the drops? Because when you're in Midtown, it sucks
Yes.
ass when there's 40 items on the ground and you can't pick them up on the screen.
Yeah.
I get angst every single time we play test Surtur and he dies, and I just look at this like giant pool of loot, and I hit alt, and it's just like words.
I definitely think there was something that came across us in engineering about a button to hit to like just up everything, but I don't know off the top of my head where it's at.
Yeah, I think we'd have to give it a little more thought. I think it's really, like your first instinct would be to say, okay, I just want to pick up everything, but because of our limited inventory space, I think we would
You had to have
do
like a
some
temporary
work
cache
around, like,
to pick from
see all
later.
the stuff.
Don't
Yeah.
pick up white, don't pick up green, don't pick
But
up...
Yeah.
maybe we can just pick and choose, like, I only want the purples or the
Yeah.
purples over
Yeah,
cosmetics.
it would probably.
Yeah, pick by what
Yeah.
on the way down.
But yeah, there's been suggestions to do a filter by rarity, and so like I only want to see, even if we did something where like we only showed you purples and cosmics or whatever you want, that would help. I don't know if there's anything. It's definitely been brought up a lot, so people are definitely aware. But I don't know if there is a task to do soon. But if you keep asking, somebody will listen.
Yeah. It'll end up in our faces
Yeah.
soon enough.
Yeah.
You mentioned the raids with the different roles, tank and DPS, like that. Like I've been trying to play Captain America as a tank, and one thing I've been noticing is that the taunt gets resisted a lot, especially by the bosses and things like that. Is it different in raids? They have less resistance to taunts, or?
So in the raids, there's a lot of other stuff and monsters going on, and when we were testing the raid, I was a DPS, and it's like, get these guys off of me. And so that's where a tank comes in. The boss themselves, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to taunt them a lot, but it's the other mobs that are in the different fights, I think, that are where a tank can shine really well.
So basically the tank's more about crowd control,
yeah,
about face tanking the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, our bosses have a lot of resistance to different sort of crowd controls, and taunt sort of counts as one of the crowd control methods. And so if you have them, if you like stun them and then you try to taunt them, then the taunt might not go all through if you were successful in stunning. So there's a little bit of layering there that happens.
But I mean, if there's some fight where you feel like there, maybe an issue, I mean, raise it up in the forums where the content designers are constantly tweaking and looking at various parses of data to see exactly what's going on. So, there could be something overlooked. Feel free to chime in on the forums.
You had a question.
Yes.
Yeah. I know it's probably something that's on the more difficult side in terms of the mechanics, but do you know if there's any plans to add controller support to the game?
Well, it's Unreal 3, so it's not very. They do have general support for controllers, and so it would not be very hard to enable that sort of thing.